one. I love that this thing always says, wait, I'm supposed to be professional today. Let me back it up.
Hello, and welcome to the Ladies' Tale podcast.
Oh, no.
That was too serious.
I feel like we're going to be like, right after that, we're going to have a serious reading of like Shakespeare or something.
Like I should have got my hot tea, like, this tea is marvelous, darling.
What's wrong with tea and Shakespeare?
Nothing is wrong with tea and Shakespeare, Tanya. I'm just saying.
Can you imagine us doing tea
in Shakespeare? I would be like trying to read Shakespeare and messing up like the whole. I'd be like, do they have like a 90s version of this or something? Like I can read 90s, I think.
We could do Clueless, right?
Yeah, oh, there you go.
That's not Shakespeare, but at least it would be.
See, now I didn't know that. And so now I have another reason to binge it on.
No, it's not Shakespeare. It's Austen, actually, but it's still along that theme.
Well, there you go then. All right.
Anyway, we wrote books.
Right, and I'm Jade, though.
Oh, yeah, and I'm Winona.
Yeah, we wrote literary life guides with power poetry, and I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons, and I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, a memoir in verse, and a couple of other books that you can find on audible.com. Yes, I didn't even want to name them today. It's too much. You can find out everything your ladies are doing.
Including the rest of the 17 books.
And the other audiobooks on www.andithoughtladiesaid.com, Tanya.
I am Tanya Todd. I'm an author, actress, screenwriter, and the host of the 52 Love podcast.
Fabulous. All right, so
she's always so good.
She is so because she reads Shakespeare and drinks tea. Like if
it's because I get a lot of practice on your show.
If we got like you, it'd be awesome.
Right,
all right, but you're not here to hear about us.
Here to hear from our wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, nice to meet you guys over whatever these wires are. And my name's Lori McCreary. And I think 3 things you might want to know about me. I'm the only producer in Hollywood with a computer science degree. I didn't go to film school.
That's cool.
I love red wine, especially Amarone. Sometimes my coffee cup after 5 p.m., if you're on a Zoom with me, might have wine. After a long day of Zoom. And I ride Harley Davidson motorcycle.
What?
Oh my goodness.
What? That's amazing. And
okay,
yes.
How many I'm sorry, we're supposed to ask you 5 questions.
Wait.
But how many Harleys do you have?
I have had 4 in my lifetime. I have 1 currently, and I have a Triumph Speed Triple fast motorcycle.
You have a Triumph?
So the Harley Davidson is for cruising, and the Speed Triple is when you want to go fast.
So that's for LA traffic.
It's for LA traffic. Just let's be real.
Yeah.
You're like, I could wait 4 hours, or I could just be like, room.
HOV lane.
Yeah, and it's legal in LA to split lanes. That means you can go between cars.
Well, they should. They should make it legal in LA as long as that traffic is. Come on.
You're not at that
right?
You're not passing cars. You're just passing trinkets. Okay, we're getting back on topic.
Yes, wait. I'm gonna put my season books. We're getting back on topic. No, I can't pull it off at all. All right.
Okay, so it's closer. It's better.
It's better.
First real question.
How did you get started in your career since you're like a computer science major?
Yes, right. So much to my dad's chagrin, I left the technology industry and went into the film industry a little circuitously. I started out in theater when I was really young, like 8 years old. And I thought when I was 16 years old, I thought my dream was to own a theater and put on plays and go to Broadway and all that. And I kind of decided I should go to school for computer science because they were computerizing all the lighting and sound systems in the theater. And it was just at the right time for computer science, although there were only like 4 women in my class at the time at UCLA. And while I was in college, I started a software company with a friend of mine called CompuLaw. So I was a software developer. I wrote apps basically for lawyers. And, I had one of those big epiphanies when I was 21, I think. We had 21 employees. And I thought, am I going to spend the rest of my life helping lawyers bill people more? This can't be what I'm doing. What I really wanted to do is go back into theater and tell stories. And so I left that gig and decided I was going to do a play. And lo and behold, while I was doing that, I saw a play called Bopa, which was an anti-apartheid play at the time. This was big in the news, and I thought if more people saw a play about apartheid, that apartheid in South Africa would end. And I ended up making that into my first movie. So the first movie I ever made, I had never been on a movie set. I didn't really know about making movies. I knew about making theater. But the first movie set I was on was my own movie. I was a co-producer with my producing partner, and I kind of fell in love with it. And that's how I ended up doing it. Producers get to make their own jobs, so I got a film.
That's really
made.
Amazing.
Yeah, that is super amazing.
So, I would just was like, I'm kind of moved by the fact that you went from software, which is kind of telling a story to get money, like, you know, how much do I bill, to telling like real touching stories that have a impact on society. How do those two complement each other? Like, do you ever use any of your computer science while looking at a script? That's pretty much what I'm asking.
You know what? That's a really good question. And it's funny you ask that, because being someone that's like an app developer, it's really similar to being a producer, because as a developer, you think about it, you think, you guys might have thought about, I wish there was an app for this or for that, right? So if you're a developer, you think, I'm going to build an app to do, to help people find rides in cars, right? And then you kind of lay out what you want to do, and then you have to hire all the technical people that do the coding, and you have to hire all the people that do the design of what the screens look like, and you have to hire people that do all the deep tech stuff. So it's this really interesting combination of creative people and technical people. So when I got into the film business, I realized, wow, it's really similar. You come up with an idea. It's not an app, but it's a movie, right, or a TV series. And then you have to hire all these disparate kind of people, the creative people, the writers, the production designers, and the technologists, the people, the cinematographers, and all the people that are going to, get your project on all the different types of screens and have it look great. So, and you have to have all those people come together and come out with a product. In the technology industry, it's an app that goes on a phone. And in the film or TV industry, it's a piece of entertainment that you can see on a big screen or a little screen. So it's very, very similar.
Wow.
So before we turn it over to Tanya, who's going to ask you a very impressive, mind-blowing question, better than the one I
don't know why you say that.
Because you read Shakespeare and drink tea.
That's why.
And then hear that.
That's a really common thing, though.
I do have one question that I know everyone's going to want to know, especially from our audience, is what is the filmmaking process like? How do you get a story idea onto the television? Because I mean, a lot of our audience, they write books. They write books, so they always are like, how do I get that story idea on that big screen
or small screen?
That's a really good question. It's becoming easier today, because if you have an idea for a great story, you can go out and film it yourself on an iPhone and throw it up on a site. And I think a lot of entrepreneurial producers are out scouring online to look for great projects. And also there's a lot of really great programs like the Producers Guild, which is like 8,500 of the top producers in the world. They have a program that you can send your idea into, and you might get picked to be in that program for that year. There's a scripted cycle and an unscripted cycle. That's more like documentary or reality. And if you can send in your idea, and especially ideas from diverse voices, and then you could get chosen to be one of the people that gets in that cycle, and you can have like 4 days of really intensive training on how to get that idea into the hands of the right people.
How do you typically decide which projects you want to produce?
Well, I have a business partner, Morgan Freeman. So he and I always say we have very similar tastes. We could both read, 100 scripts and put them in piles. Like, we want to produce this project. He wants to star in this one, or we don't think it's a project we want to do, and we would put them in the same pile. So I decide on something that touches me. It doesn't have to be like emotionally crying or something like that, but just something that moves me and helps me see something different, either about myself or about another person or another group of people, just something that we have a company called Revelations, and our mission is to reveal truth. So we're looking for something revealing, something that is enlightening, something that you'll notice we do a lot of historical things like Invictus. So we try to bring stories to life that might not otherwise have been told.
So if revealing truth is kind of your motto, have you ever come across a project that inspired you, but you weren't quite sure if it fit with that theme?
All the time. It's a very good question. And it happens all the time. And, I find myself sometimes like, it's the commerce versus your conscience, right? So you find a project that seems really good. It doesn't really fit with your mission, but someone's offering you a lot of money. It actually happened to us the very first script we ever got submitted. Morgan and I have been in business for almost 25 years, so it's a long time. But we started the company, and I was really young at the time. And we got a script in from a big network, and they said, hey, we want you to just put your name on it. We're going into production. It was a lot of money at the time, still a lot of money today. It was like $250,000, just put your name on it. And I read it, and it was just not something it definitely didn't reveal truth. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
It was probably going to be a really good movie, right? Because it was kind of a damsel in distress kind of movie. And I read it, and I thought, oh my gosh. But then I thought, but they're offering this money. So I sent it to Morgan. This was back when you couldn't email it. You had to put it in the mail. So, and Morgan lives in Mississippi, and he read the script, called me and said, darling, why are you sending me this? And I said, well, because they're offering us, this much money. And he said, but did you read the script? And I said, yeah. I said, do you like it? I said, well, not really. He said, well, this is why we have our own company, because we don't have to do things like this just because we need the money. We're doing this because we want to make a difference in the world. So
that is a wonderful piece of advice.
I'm telling you, the fact that I have a business partner like that is fantastic. You
have the voice of God as your moral compass.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Now that you said that, Tanya, now I'm never going to be able to get it out of my head. Like, I'm mad at you, Tanya. I'm mad at you.
Lori, is this the story that you want to tell?
Yeah.
Do you have a preference between movies or television?
That's a really good question. My first we did a television movie back in the late 90s, but my first scripted television series was Madam Secretary. And before I did that, I would have said for sure film. But there's something really fun about, we did 120 episodes, so 120 hours. That's like 60 movies, basically, on Madam Secretary. The great thing about TV as a producer is you have much more input into the final cuts of the projects. And when you're working as a film producer, it's really a director's medium. So I always saw myself as there helping the director with his vision. And in television, scripted series, it's really more producers. The directors are amazing, but directors come in and out, and the producers are the ones that stay with the show from, for all 120 episodes. And you're able to say, hey, this character, maybe we can, you throw ideas out to the writer's room, and then all of a sudden you see an idea that you had only last month. Now you're shooting it because it's so fast. So
it's interesting that you say that, because I was taught that theater is an actor's medium, film is a director's medium, and television is the writer's medium. But you're saying it's the producer's medium.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So there's two types of producers in television. There's the producer, there's the writers, and writers will often have producer credits, and then there are the producers. And so and producing and writing are two, obviously, I wish I could be a writer. God, I wish I was a writer. But they're two completely different types of skill sets. So sometimes you have a writer who's also an amazing producer and can deal with all the logistics and the budget and the bigger picture of it. And sometimes you have great writers and then produce both, they call them non-writing producers. I call them producing producers because I'm not a non-acting producer either. I'm just a producer. So the producing producers usually generate the idea for the project. Like on Madam Secretary, the idea to do Madam Secretary came from us at Revelations. And then we brought on an amazing showrunner who kind of took the idea and built it into this amazing character and script. But I was on, every episode on set, running the show, which was really fun. And by the way, I wish I had started in TV because it teaches you to make decisions much more quickly than when I started in film. You have a lot more time. On film, you have like a year to make a film. And in 9 months, we made 23 episodes of TV.
Wow. 9
months, 23, 42-minute episodes. I can't do the math that quickly, but it was a lot.
Wow.
How were you able to get former secretaries of state to do that show?
Well, this is going to sound very pretentious. Okay, so I know and knew then still the Clintons. So that was an easy phone call, and she had already told me at a birthday event I had been at how much she loved our show. So I was like, that's nice that she loves our show. Madeleine Albright, former Secretary of State, came to our premiere, and Tim Daly, who played the husband to Elizabeth McCord on Madam Secretary, knew Secretary Albright for years. And Morgan had introduced me to former Secretary General Powell years before, and we had been working on a project about him. So when it came,
so you worked your network.
I worked my night. I called them all and prayed that they would love the script. And then the writers got on and did deep research, looking into what they personally might really get behind saying, because that, of course, was the stipulation was, well, can we read the script first? So
yeah, of course.
I told the writers, okay, here's who you're writing for: Secretary Albright, former Secretary Clinton, and General Powell. No pressure, right? So the biggest issue, honestly, once they said yes, was, can you imagine trying to get them all to come to New York at the same time to shoot the scene? It was a lot. We had real Secret Service agents at the set. So, which was fun for the people that are playing the Department of State.
And it kind of might help inform their roles, right?
Exactly. They were literally, I saw them just studying them. It was really interesting.
I'm sorry, Jade, did you say you had a question?
Oh yeah, I do, because
she said that. She's like, I'll give it back to the host.
I'll give it back to the host. But no, seriously, it was amazing, because this is why we had Tanya on, because y'all can really talk real like behind the scenes stuff. Well, my question is just silly, because you talked about set. So what was the best craft services, or as people call it, crafty, that you've ever had?
Because that's our lifetime goal, to have crafty. So we always want to know.
We have to know. And we're invited so we can imagine it. Like if people describe it, we can just imagine it.
Well, best or best. So I like to eat really clean. So the best for me was the Madam Secretary crafty, because Taya Leone is a vegan and Tim Daly eats very, very clean. So we always there was one side that was kind of like the junky side, but it was always like really great fresh fruits and vegetables, hummus, things that you could go by and take and not feel bad about. Because if you can imagine, you're sitting on a set for 9 months, right? And you're sitting a lot as a producer, getting up and going over to Crafty and grabbing, candy and cookies all day does not help with your figure. So I was very happy with Madam Secretary. Now the best in terms of like the best kinds of foods and things, I would say, let me think. Well, we did a movie with Rob Reiner, and all I remember on that was we had White Castle, and being a West Coaster, I didn't really know what White Castle was, but there's these little tiny burgers. We always had White Castle burgers sitting on Crafty, and that was amazing, but again, a little not good for my figure.
I wish you could see our faces right now. We're just sitting here like, oh, that's
born and raised on the East Coast, and we're like White Castle. We're like, yes.
Yeah.
We will, yes.
You know.
White Castle in a frozen container that we have to microwave.
We will take it. Because we have to do it, we'll do it. So good. So good.
Okay. So I did have a question about how do you think COVID is going to affect production and the job of a producer going forward?
Well, I think for sure it has, I was in charge of helping the Producers Guild put together the independent production COVID protocols for being on set. And so it really added an entire new job to the producer, which is we're always in charge of keeping our crew and our cast safe, right? You need to make sure that you have all these protocols in place for, if you do stunts or just making sure the food is safe and all those kind of things. But those kind of are well-oiled machines. When you add on top of it a whole new, pandemic with all of these epidemiologists telling you lots of things and it changes all the time, it added a whole level of responsibility to the producer. And so it changed in a few ways. One, a lot of productions shut down immediately. And most of them, I've heard pretty much every single one of them has finally gotten back into production and finished. I only heard of one that never came back. So that was great. The other thing is getting new movies and production started is really hard because it's very hard to get insurance now. As a producer, you start a movie, you need to get insurance just in case, I don't know, a global pandemic happens or a hurricane happens. And it's really hard right now to get insurance for independent movies because they're just nervous. So the good news is the Screen Actors Guild, SAG came out and said that a producer can now mandate that vaccines are mandatory for coming onto a production. So unless you have a physical, a medical or a spiritual, religious reason for not getting a vaccine, you can ask everyone who you want to hire to make sure they're vaccinated before they come. So that changed. That's helped a lot, but we are still probably between 20 and 30%. It costs 20 to 30% more to make any production right now, just because of all the things you have to put in place to make sure that if there's someone infected on your set, it doesn't spread, out of control. Masks and, PPE and all that stuff.
I feel like that question really killed the mood. Sorry about that, y'all. We were
Sorry.
at spot.
And now we're like,
now we're talking about mask and mass illness. No, we went the wrong way. Tanya, all you now.
Yes.
I was hoping you would tell the audience what you're doing for Mentorship Monday on Instagram and Facebook.
You mean what questions I'm answering or what I'm doing?
How did you get involved with that? Like I hadn't heard of Mentorship Monday until I saw your post about it.
Oh, it's so interesting. I mentor through the Producers Guild and the Academy, and I mentor, new and up and coming producers in our business. And I started doing one-on-ones many, many years ago. And I realized that a lot of my mentees were asking the same questions. So like a couple years in, I asked for 2 mentees, and now I have about 10 to 12 mentees that I meet with. We call it Breakfast with Lori's. Mm-hmm. And so as part of those breakfasts, they started saying to me, why don't you just answer the questions that you keep saying everyone asks you all the time, out loud and put them online and do something like that. So that's my new Mentorship Mondays.
Have you heard of Woku?
So I have some. What's that?
Have you heard of Woku, the Start with 8?
I have not.
It's Women of Color United, and they have this program where people who are successful in the industry mentor 8 people who are women of color. And they've been doing it for a little while now, and I think they're having pretty good success with it.
Oh, wow. I would love to get information on that. That's fantastic.
I will have the lady send it to you.
Thank you.
That is what Tanya does all the time.
Right? Doesn't she?
We always think we're good networkers, and then Tanya comes along and she's like, I got something that you like.
Well, maybe I learned from the best, ladies.
Well, no. You learned that from Shakespeare and Tea. Don't even try to say it like that. Lori, what do you have coming up next, and where can people follow wow. Let me know.
Follow and support you. What's the best way for the audience to support you?
Oh my gosh. Well, we have a movie opening in September called, I'm sorry to bring it down. It's called The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. But it is a film that if you know anyone who doesn't understand what the issue is with policing in our country, it will immediately put a face to it. And if you don't know who Kenneth Chamberlain is, 10 years ago, 72-year-old veteran with PTSD and a life alert, you know, those things you wear around your neck, not you, older people wear around their neck. He was taking it off in the middle of the night and accidentally hit it. And at 5:30, life alert alerted, called 911. And an hour and a half later, he was shot and killed by police. So the movie is that those 90 minutes pretty much, it shows what happened chronologically because there's an audio tape of everything that happened. And we're supporting this movie and putting it out in September because October is the 10th anniversary of Kenneth Chamberlain dying, being murdered, and no one has been brought to justice. And we think mostly it's a great conversation starter with people who don't understand I don't really like the term defund the police, but the idea of defunding the police. It's really about don't send men with guns or women with guns for that matter. Don't send anyone with guns to a medical emergency. If it's a medical emergency, let's send people who are trained medically.
Yes.
So that movie comes out on September 17th, and we're very excited about that. And, you can follow us on Twitter, Revelations Entertainment, or Lori McCreary, or Morgan Freeman. We're all there, or on Insta. And, we love to hear, especially love to hear from new filmmakers and people who haven't had a chance yet to speak about their particular place in this world, or also, from where they come. So excited to hear any new kinds of stories.
Okay, thank you so much. Tanya, where can they find out more about you?
My website is www.mstanyatodd.com. My podcast is the 52 Love Podcast, and that is on YouTube and Spotify and the other usual podcast places. The ladies will smack me if I don't say to check me out on IMDb. And I'm across social media at Ms. Tanya Todd.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I will go ahead and wrap us up. All right.
Before we do this wrap up, I just want the audience to remember to please click on Tanya's page at IMDb. Although Alex mentioned before, it doesn't make much of a difference, but hey, let's try to get you up there higher anyway.
Just for us to have a screenshot of it, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whatever. All right, so you can find out everything you ladies are doing at www.andithoughladies.com. While you're there, take a moment, go down to the bottom of the page and see the charities that we probably support. Maybe you can support them also. And we'd like to thank you in advance for that. And just remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Will Nona
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah.